mother, it's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just a trio of feathery brethren weathering any season to see the Eagles eating teams like Scrammy's top with cheese. It's Philadelphia, Bo, Sheila, and Zach kicking it cooler than 3 penguins till Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some
Birds with Friends.
The early bird gets the worm, but prefers getting turned like a turn on some
Birds with Friends.
Bo, Sheila, and Zach coming at you with stats and things flapping their wings on.
How do you have time to consume all this content? You're listening to Dave Spadaro interviews?
I take a morning bike ride and I listen to
I want to hear more about that, but go ahead.
No, the Schuylkill Trail.
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Birds with Friends, the post-Eagles season edition. Bo Wolf, Zach Berman, Sheil Kapadia, and Marissa Morris here to talk about a lot of stuff. We've got Tank Pot Dome scandal. We've got Joe Judge to talk about. We've got Howie Roseman's comments to talk about. We've got Doug Peterson probably coming back to talk about. We've got Jim Schwartz retiring, or at least stepping away, reportedly, to talk about. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Sheil, how are you?
A lot since our last podcast. Some expected, some not expected. I don't care how I'm doing. You don't care how I'm doing. Let's get to the goods.
All right, let's get to the good stuff right off the top. I think the thing that everybody wants to talk about. And so let's look at the Swooper Storecasting leaderboard.
Because that's the most important thing right now, right?
Zach, you entered the fray without a chance, but a role of potentially playing spoiler. Would you play to win or would you tank? A tough question. And it turned out that you did in some ways tank. You had Jalen Reagor leads all Jalen's in yards from scrimmage. Did not happen.
Go over all these.
You had Chase Young has more sacks than Hurts turnovers. Did not happen. You had Miles Sanders gets 133 rushing yards. That was a tank job. He didn't even play. And Carson Wentz plays at least one snap. That was a tank job, inactive. So a big old goose egg for you. Sheil, you needed an outright W in order to force a tie. Brandon Graham reaches 10 sacks. Did not happen. Chase Young or Montez Sweat has a forced fumble. Looked like it might happen a couple times. Did not happen.
Chase Young, my gosh, when that guy has a head of steam, chase down Hurts on that rollout to the right.
Well named. More than 3 false starts by the Eagles offense. Did not happen. You did have the big one at the end. Travis Fulgham has more yards than Dallas Goedert to finish as the Eagles' leading receiver on the season. Dallas Goedert did not play. Travis Fulgham had 1 catch for 15 yards, 1 hit for you. And then the really fun one, a kick or throw hits the crossbar or upright. Did not happen. And I had 3 irons in the fire. Jalen Hurts has at least 3 touchdowns. I thought I was going to hit that after the Marcus Epps interception. Didn't happen. Ronald Darby gives up a completion of 20 yards, or Chris Collinsworth says he was in tight coverage. Didn't happen. But I did hit the most expensive purchase of the season. The Eagles have a draft pick of 7 or better, thereby tying Sheil, thereby pulling out the victory for Swooper Storecasting. And so it is my pleasure to present to myself the inflatable turkey for a well-earned victory. Sheil, you also won the Spread Your Wins and Fly draft. Congratulations to you. And Zach, you won the season-long pool for Bird Lines on the cheat sheet. So a victory for us all. I think the ones that we each deserved, the ones that we each cared about the most. Okay, that'll do it for this episode of Birds with Friends. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. And make sure to follow Marissa on Twitter. Okay. Let's talk, I guess, at the start. I don't even think we can do a full Z-Berm Stone Cold Newsman breakdown because we'd have to go the whole...
We need segments. We'd
have to go the whole way. So let's start, I think, with the most important thing, and that is the press conference from today. Howie Roseman, what he told us, what he said, the sentiments that he passed along. And I guess why don't we start with you, Zach? What did you think was at least the number one takeaway from what Howie Roseman said?
Sure. The number one takeaway really was Howie playing damage control, if you will, or at least trying to reinforce that he has confidence in Carson Wentz, that he can't imagine the Eagles without Carson Wentz. He said it's like looking at your hand without fingers, right? Or
He said
I
that we
believe that was the
view
reference.
Carson Wentz as like a finger on our hand.
Yes,
We can't
yes.
imagine him not being a part of us.
You think
Exactly.
he workshopped that couldn't have been spur of the moment, right? You
I
don't
think
just
he needed
no
to.
one's mind just operates like that. Like I don't go
So-
around dropping lines.
Do you
like,
think it was
I
a
picked
shot?
your-
Go
A
ahead.
shot at JPP.
I was gonna say a shot at Jason Light. Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't think it was that.
No, I don't. I
it
don't
was
think
that.
so. No.
But no, I thought that was deliberate on his part, and whether that was a leverage play or whether that was a genuine sentiment is really the big story going forward here, because Carson Wentz, the report came out Sunday from ESPN, Chris Mortensen, who is an outstanding reporter, very credible.
Yeah, we're not talking. We're not talking about some schlub of a report here. This is
Love a Mort.
How could
Exactly.
you not love a Mort? Love a Mort.
Yeah.
Yes, and
Morton
Chris
and
Mortensen
Morton
said
Steve
that-
Wolf, I think covered stuff together in the 80s. I forget
yeah?
the exact story. I
Didn't
know
you
Steve
tell
is.
me
I know Steve is
that?
watching tonight, so maybe he can text me the Mort
Please.
story.
If you
Yeah,
could have
so-
told me that before, then if I ever talking to Mort, I could have brought that up. A little
Dropped the
small
name.
talk.
Well,
Okay,
now
I
you got
have
it in your back
now.
pocket.
I have
Yeah.
it now.
Well,
Owners
whoever is
meetings
talking to Mort-
2022.
Well, whoever is talking to Mort is very well connected because
Mm.
Maybe it was Steve Wolf.
yeah, because Mort said that that Carson Wentz, that the relationship between Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson is damaged beyond repair, and that Carson Wentz wants to be traded. And Chris Mortensen was on WIP, or I'm sorry, was on 97.5 The Fanatic this morning, and said that Carson Wentz wants out, and he unless Carson Wentz stands up and says the report's not true, then he's going to stand with his sources on this. Carson Wentz today declined the opportunity to speak.
Politely declined.
Politely declined, yes. He had, and Carson's a smart guy, and there have been issues and reports that have reflected poorly on him that have come up before that he has refuted or deflected. He understands that if he speaks, it's a forum for him to have his input here, and he declined that opportunity. So he left it out there, whether it's by design or whatever, that he's unhappy. And so to get back to Howie, my big takeaway from Howie was Howie trying to establish that the Eagles want Carson Wentz. And if that's leverage against Carson, if that's leverage with other GMs, or if that's the way Howie thinks that Carson's the quarterback, that's the big question this offseason.
And I want to stick on the Wentz thing, but it was also interesting in conjunction with the way that Howie spoke about Jalen Hurts, which was extremely tepid. He was now we didn't get to follow up on like a full Hurts question for Howie, but the way he talked about him was basically, you need depth at quarterback. We stand by that. There were two teams yesterday playing for the playoffs with their backup quarterback. He did not say we've got two starting caliber quarterbacks.
Yep.
We think in Hurts and Wentz. It was very much Wentz is our guy. Again, like you just said, Zach, I think that's mostly posturing, but it was definitely noteworthy.
Agree wholeheartedly there. And that was, I give credit to you. You were texting me during, and you said we need more on Hurts here. And I didn't fully grasp like how tepid that was about Hurts until I listened back to it. And the you mentioned it there. The two things that jumped out was having depth in a 17-game season and comparing him to backup quarterbacks who need to get their team into the playoffs this past weekend. So that really stood out.
Meanwhile, Jalen Hurts. Go ahead.
He mentioned a 17-game season as a reason for this.
Yes.
I missed that actually. That's
he said
he one more game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Had the Jets on the schedule next year.
So we'll get that to everything else, but the quarterback part of it was the biggest part of the press conference.
And I do want to close the loop. Already got the text from Steve. Mort covered the Dodgers, was a great baseball reporter, he says.
Very
So
good.
Surprised me.
A little history lesson.
I would expect nothing less. So my takeaway on or my read on the Wentz stuff, I mean, I know Mort said, I believe, Zach, during that interview that, this didn't come from Carson's agents or whatever, right? I mean, regardless, I think, if Carson Wentz wanted to clear the air, he could have cleared the air. Carson Wentz is a big boy. We've seen him in, challenging circumstances. Remember, it was what was it, after the 2018 season where he held the little gathering,
Yep.
no cameras. It was, after the anonymous reports had surfaced with some teammates being sort of critical of him. He wanted to clear the air before everyone went their separate ways. If he wanted to do that, he could do that. If he doesn't want to do that, he doesn't have to do that. And, the truth is, like you said, this is a credible reporter putting this out there that Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz have a fractured relationship, that Carson Wentz is going to ask for a trade or has asked for a trade. And I didn't think Howie Roseman, now I was viewing this, I was not a part of the press conference. I was viewing this as I was doing other stuff, but I didn't feel like that was a strong, that strong of it sounded to me exactly what you say, a couple months before you could trade a guy. I mean, there was nothing binding there, nothing that would make him look dumb. There was the follow-up about, you're not looking to trade him. And what do you say? We're not right now. We're not having those conversations or whatever.
It's still so raw. Yeah. We're not thinking that way. This is just a very talented player. Yeah.
Right. So
he didn't categorically eliminate anything there. Yep.
Yeah, no, he didn't. And I mean, we always read too much into it. Like, if you're a GM, you're allowed to say something now and lie and change your, that's part of the thing. I mean, what good would it do him to say, yes, we're definitely going to trade Carson Wentz. We're absolutely thinking about that. I mean, sometimes teams want to do that because they want to drum up a market and let everyone know, hey, this guy's available. Come make your calls. But I don't think that's necessary.
I'm going to disagree with you real quick there, though.
Okay.
About us reading too much into it. I don't think you can read too much into it when Howie Roseman makes his first comment in his first comments in 4 months. If it's like a Friday Doug Peterson press conference and he just says something that you can read too much into, but we
have no choice but to read too much into it. That's all we get.
Howie goes into these with game plans, right? Howie's not just answering something. He knows what questions are coming and he knows how he wants to answer it.
Right, but so you think his comments today indicate that they don't want to trade Carson Wentz?
I think what Zach is saying is that it's purposeful. It doesn't mean he's telling the truth, but
exactly.
Right.
Okay.
You guys are agreeing. You basically
reading too much into it was the wrong phrasing for me.
Okay.
Yes, I would say, you don't listen to what they say and say that's the truth. Yeah. That's what they're thinking, because they're going to change their minds. They have to see what offers they get. They have a bunch of different things they have to figure out. So, it doesn't surprise me that Carson Wentz wants to be traded. I mean, that really shouldn't surprise anybody, right? That Carson Wentz would potentially want to be traded. It shouldn't surprise anyone that that's an option that the Eagles have to look at very seriously in the weeks and months ahead. And I don't know what the percentage chance of it happening is right now. I would put it over 40 and under 85. So I don't know. Those are randomly picked numbers.
That's like when that reporter on Twitter the other day said he makes between $30,000 and $100,000.
But I mean, you get the point. I think there's, I think there's probably more than a coin flip chance that Carson Wentz gets traded this offseason.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I also think, to your point, Zach Ertz, and we can get to him later as well, made a good point on this from the, like, Carson Wentz doesn't want to be a backup. He's like, he was like, I think that is so silly. Like, of course he doesn't want to be a backup. I don't want to be a backup either. Like, he's a competitor. Nobody wants to be a backup. Now, you can argue, go win the job, don't transfer, don't pull a Joe Judge, but that's a different conversation. Or Jalen Hurts, for that matter.
So the other big takeaways, I would say there are a few things here. First off, I'm pulling this up when it came to Howie discussing his record. And
this was,
so there were 3 big points, and I haven't read Bo's column yet, but Bo addressed all this, so make sure you check that out.
How do you know? If you haven't read it, how do you know that I've addressed it?
Because we discussed how we were splitting up the press conference. So,
but maybe I forgot. Maybe I freelanced.
Yeah,
maybe you went rogue and just stole your angle.
Maybe I wrote about Tuhill.
If you did not address it, then we are missing something in our coverage tomorrow or tonight. So he said we're a 4-11-1 roster. But then a few breaths later, he said 3 years before we won 35 games. which is, but and we'll get to that. And then he also said later on, just because you have one bad moment does not mean you're not good at your job or you don't have a good process. It happens in this business.
And I made the point in the column that it's actually the sentence right before that I think is even more troubling. He said, by the same time, we have also been incredibly successful. Just because you have one bad moment doesn't mean you're not good at your jobs or you don't have a good process. Incredibly successful. This team has been whiffing itself about the Super Bowl for 4 seasons straight. That 35 wins in 3 seasons thing, if you just move it forward a year and you go 2018 to 2020, you disregard 2017, guess what? They're 19th in wins, okay? So let's not pretend like they have done anything super special over the last 3 years. And what have they done since the Super Bowl? Just continued to bring guys back and try to run it back. And I went back to the tape. I pulled a Zach Berman, went back to the transcripts. 4 off seasons in a row now, every single year since the Super Bowl, Howie Roseman has said something like, we need to guard against sentimentality. We can't afford to just keep running it back. We can't just bring back the guys because we like them. And guess what? They keep doing it. And this is exactly what was always going to happen. A roster of old players with nobody good young. Do you know that if Carson Wentz moves on this offseason, the only player on the entire roster under the age of 30 with a Pro Bowl nod will be Rick Lovato?
I did know that, actually. Yeah.
Wow.
No,
I didn't know that.
No, I just mean it in a way they're just lacking young talent. You're absolutely right. Yeah. No, that's a great point.
I thought that this, I didn't need to be at this press conference because I heard this press conference a year ago.
Exactly.
I mean, really, it was the exact same talking points over and over again.
It's the same thing.
What year is it going to be when you're going back to 2017? Everybody knows you won the Super Bowl in 2017. You get that for the rest of your life. It's absolutely a feather in your cap, a huge accomplishment, all those different types of things. But guess what? If they go 0-16 the next 2 years, you can't go back. He was not only going back to 2017, he was going back to 2010 drafts. I mean, what was that?
Exactly.
I heard a press conference with no accountability, no, very surface level admission of error and mistake, nothing beyond that, nothing that made me think that this organization on any level is serious about any kind of change. I mean, 1 year, give me a break. I mean, Bo gave the numbers, I was looking at some of them last night, the last 3 years since the Super Bowl, because I think we need to start talking since the Super Bowl.
Yes.
I mean, Malcolm Jenkins was the only one who had this right the August after the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl's over. You start anew every year. This is how it works. Obviously, you get the credibility there. Since the Super Bowl, their winning percentage is 20th in the NFL. I mean, 20th. And that is with Carson Wentz.
Yeah, it's the same just because they get one playoff win. That's the only difference. Anyway,
that is with Carson Wentz being healthy 2 of the 3 years, fully healthy. I don't know how many games has he missed over that span due to injury. It would just be that first 4 year, right? I don't know how many he missed that year, but whatever. And to make matters worse, you can kind of live with, all right, 4-11, 20th in winning percentage over 3 years. If you are a team on the rise, if there is something to look forward to, you just mentioned the thing, no young talent, no answer at quarterback, no move, least flexibility in the NFL to make a move via free agency. And so you're talking about the draft, and that's it. Yeah, you want to build through the draft. It takes many draft cycles to build that way, and you need to complement those draft picks with something else. So I just watched that, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, that did not sound to me like a man who has had conversations with Jeffrey Lurie, where Jeffrey Lurie has said, we've got to get this fixed. This isn't going the way all the reports we heard a month ago about Jeffrey's not happy about this. Well, I don't think that message has gotten through. I don't think they have a plan. How could they? And I think this is if you're an Eagles fan, I mean, this has to be as disappointed as you've been since when? The end of the Chip Kelly era?
Yeah, probably so.
No, I think before that. Yeah,
At least then you had the promise
Andy,
of a new coach.
I'd say the end of the Andy era. I'd say 2012.
That's the thing. It's so. I mean, it's so. Run it back. Run back 4-11-1. I mean, can't just picture January 2022 him standing. You know what? Sometimes I get attached to these players. Yeah, you said that.
I know.
And
there's always an excuse. First it was the shortened off season from the Super Bowl. Yeah, like maybe we didn't bring that into account so much. This year he goes with the pandemic. We pivoted because we thought we would have the only NFC East team with infrastructure at quarterback and head coach, which is insane. Like you don't change your organizational decision making because of that. And two is a lie because they didn't. All they did. He said after the draft we pivoted. We had some chances to get younger. All they did was bring back Jason Peters and Vinny Curry, which were dumb moves. And, I talked about at the beginning of the season with the Tuchel stuff, like this team doesn't understand where it is in its cycle of roster development. It's still pretending that it's a contender, but it's not like they didn't trade for DeAndre Hopkins or Stephon Diggs and traded for Darius Slay because they thought that they were going to have a chance to win the NFC East because there were new coaches on the other three teams. Give me a break.
No, but I do think it's important to point out the context with which he answered those lines we're picking apart. Not the pandemic one, but the other ones. The first question was why should fans have confidence that you can be the guy to fix it? And so his response to that was, 4-11-1 is our record. That's what we are. But in the 3 years before this, they won 35 games. So basically what he was saying is, look at my body of work. He wasn't, he can't say, look at the team I built this year, right? He was saying they're a bad roster. He was saying their roster is not what they were in the past. So that was that answer. And then the other one we were talking about was in response to a question, do they need to change the way they pick players or do things like that?
Yeah, and this is when he said, we've got people in the building who were there when we drafted these future Eagles Hall of Famers. The last time they drafted one of these guys was 2013, Lane Johnson and Zach Ertz. Mm-hmm. That is 8 years ago now. And guess what? There's not a lot of people who are in the building still. It's Howie Roseman, it's Deuce Staley, and Anthony Patch, who are decision makers still. Give me a break.
You're right.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the context of it, but nobody wants to hear that.
No, I'm just talking for the listeners.
Yeah, you're giving the appropriate context.
Yeah, he didn't get up there and say, look at my Super Bowl ring. He got up there talking about, he was trying. I'll say this, because I thought what Howie was doing was taking responsibility without actually showing what you were he was saying I'm responsible for it, but he wasn't saying he was defending everything that they did. His whole point was that, we were trying to extend that Super Bowl window, which was true, but your execution doing it was
and which they said last year.
Yeah. So
he said the same thing.
This was the whole theme of last offseason. Yeah.
Yes. It was it was like a toddler telling you he's sorry, but not knowing what he's sorry for. They know how to act and say that they're very sorry, but there's no okay, what are you sorry for? There's no understanding of what they actually did wrong.
I mean, I think this was a day where you get out there and say, I haven't been good enough. It's unacceptable, the decisions I've made. I know the fans are tired of me saying the same things over and over again. Having said that, I'm confident we're going to make changes. We're going to get this thing right. That I don't need you quoting 35 wins.
So what's your response then?
Yeah,
so then you're the GM.
He comes with that in his holster. 35 wins.
So I'm just workshopping this here. You're the GM. And I'm Dave Zangaro, and I ask you, why should fans? Why should fans have confidence that you're the one who can fix it? What's your answer?
I don't want to come up here with a bunch of platitudes and tell you why they should, because the fact is it hasn't been good enough. And I understand if fans don't have confidence in me right now. We are coming off a 4-11-1 season. We made a lot of bad decisions last offseason. We're not in great shape going forward. All those things are absolutely true. I'm not going to stand up here and lie to you right now. Having said that, I'm going to work hard to get this right. We have people in this building who I trust. I need to make changes with our process, and we're going to be a winning organization going forward. That's my commitment to the fans.
Wow.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Off the dome.
But so,
Listen, I'm available. PR. I don't want to work those crazy hours. Have Zach texting me at 2 a.m. But if you just need like a little bit of that,
actually, yeah.
I'm available.
That is accurate.
That was fantastic.
Well, it reminds me. I remember. I think I was working at Philly.com when I really don't remember what year it was, but Joe Banner did an interview with. I don't know if it was the WIP morning show. It was somebody, and his quote was something like, "We've made the NFC, we've made the championship game this many times." And this was like, yeah, I mean, everybody remembers the fatigue at that point of just like, can't get over the hump. And it was probably after 2008. And he just got absolutely crushed for that. I remember. I mean, I don't know how long that news cycle was, but I mean, and that was saying we've gotten to the championship game. I mean, this is 35 wins.
So would fans be more reassured if he gave your answer, if he got up there and was like, it's not good enough, but I'm going to work hard, right? Like we would kill him. We would say, "What's your plan?" You know. So his approach was the Doug Peterson approach, which was what Doug Peterson gave the Peterson version of it last week, which was, "I'm a Super Bowl winning coach. I know what it takes to get there." Right? You know, we've had a lot of success. That was Doug's thing, and that was Howie's thing. And I agree that you can't keep hanging on to the Super Bowl, 4 years later, but he can't say I nailed the draft last year, right? He can't be
but he also can't be coming out and saying we won 35 games from 2017 to 2019 and act like that's a flex that matters.
That's all he has from the last 3 years, honestly. Like his best work was from 2016 to 2017. So
say
like
that.
He's
say
pointing to. Yeah, so that's what he's saying. Like, I built this team. I built a successful team before. Just like Doug said, I know how to fix it because I've done it before. I'm not saying it's a good argument, but I'm saying the reason why they are still here is because of the equity they've built with Jeffrey Lurie, because they've won. And you can argue that the trajectory of the franchise is all it should matter, that you can't just rest on having, I've done it before, what's your plan going forward? But they're not going to get up here and say, I'm going to add this player, this player, this player. And he's not going to take the Sheil answer of saying, well, I'm just going to work hard. He's saying, look at my track record. And my guess is this is the last year he can use that, because if it doesn't work this year,
I don't know. Yeah. I'll believe it. I don't know.
A lot of love in the comments from our live viewers for Sheil's monologue there. People want to know. People want to smoke what Sheil's smoking. They said.
I thought that was a good segment. I would like to be. Yeah, I like the little Sheil. You are this person. I'm asking you this question segment. That could be a fun one.
It's the reverse of the emotional zoo. You get to inhabit someone completely different.
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
And then I'm out.
Yeah, it's like being John Malkovich.
Yeah.
So I'll also point out that speaking of the recent drafts, the question came up about the Jalen Reagor, Justin Jefferson.
Wait a second. That's a third person scoop around. The question came up. You asked the question.
Yes, but that's not relevant to like where this is.
I know,
about
but
it's not about
don't just
me,
pretend
right?
you don't exist. Include your agency.
Okay, so
that was some serious erasure there, right?
that was Zach Berman erasure.
Yeah.
So the question was, how do you evaluate the decision to take Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson, and then how do you explain how 2 years in a row you spent 2 picks in the first 2 rounds on wide receivers, and players drafted after them have outpaced them in performance? And he said that they don't have their head in the sand about Justin Jefferson. He made the point that if every GM knew he was going to be that good, he wouldn't even have been on the board, which doesn't alleviate any of the I can't think of the right word.
Or the parade they threw in the Vikings virtual draft room when they took Reagor instead.
Yeah. So, but he said that he explained the process there, which is what he said on draft night, and it's flawed it was a flawed process or a flawed evaluation, where he said that they were looking for someone who best fit their offensive system. And the suggestion there is that this is kind of what the coaches wanted, right? They wanted this outside receiver, but there was a gross misevaluation in either how Justin Jefferson could function in the offense or how Jalen Reagor would function in the offense. Then he went on to say Jalen Reagor did not have an injury history at TCU. And so the injuries kind of came out of nowhere here, and that he just turned 22. Meanwhile, Justin Jefferson actually is, I think he's younger than
I believe he is,
but that's besides the point. And he pointed out how he was just randomly thinking this morning about the 2010 draft and everything that was said about Brandon Graham. And he,
I mean, there's so many like wormy defenses, like self-defense things thrown in, like to throw in Brandon Graham, Earl Thomas in an answer about how you boned the Reagor Jefferson pick is like,
I think this Chris commented that this is how I felt it was. So he was saying the monologue I did where I said explicitly it wasn't good enough. He thought Howie was more saying like they had bad luck. And I agree with that. I feel like he's saying, well, this didn't go our way. We tried this and that. And there is, don't get me wrong, there is absolutely luck involved. And like the draft explanation is not a great one, but there is validity to that. If everyone knew Justin Jefferson was going to be this good, he wouldn't have lasted that long. That's true. As Zach said, it doesn't sort of excuse the pick or really get you anywhere right now. But that's just how I feel. Like they're they act like they are a victim of circumstance, that they've made, great decisions, that their process has been sound. I mean, I don't remember him saying anything about maybe our process hasn't been sound. Maybe we need to revisit why this happened, why X, Y, and Z happened. It's not that. It's that, injuries or, well, no one knew Justin Jefferson was going to be that good. Well, wait a little bit for Jalen Reagor, Brandon Graham. Well, the pandemic. I mean, it's just like over and over again. Well, we can't take your accountability seriously when everything that you're saying is followed up, or the next answer is something to the contrary with something that sounds like, a bit of an excuse.
Yeah. It's like they're so persecuted. Like, how could you dare question that sometimes? It's crazy. And by the way, separately on the Reagor thing as a fit, like, guess what? He was a terrible fit in the offense. They didn't like find a way to get him the ball quickly. Like, it was the whole thing was garbanzo beans.
I will go back to draft night here because
and maybe that's a coaching thing, but
because this is something we talked about then. There were a few things. They were fixated on this concept of an outside speed receiver, and not a slot only guy. In part because of this notion of 12 personnel, which is short term. And then also thinking of how he functions within the rest of the offense. This is the biggest investment you're making in a wide receiver in years. All that matters is the quality. All that matters is the quality of the player. You take the best player, then everyone else fits around him. You don't worry
100%.
about JJ or Alshon or Deshaun. You worry like this is the pick that matters. Hit on this pick. And the other pieces, figure that out after you go.
100%.
I'm gonna need Reagor under a new coach or on a new team to save some face here. I mean, he's young. It's 1 year.
You got that one good Marquise Lee season, so hopefully you get one of those.
Well,
and Reagor still might be a fine player, by the way.
He might be a fine player.
He has talent. Yeah,
of course. And he's better than what they've gotten out of Arcega-Whiteside. And it was like laughable when Howie said it was good to see JJ Arcega-Whiteside play last night and get a couple catches. And then he still thinks, he's gonna have a chance this offseason, him and Reagor together to become impact players. I mean, give me a break. But
and there's little subtle things. Oh, I'm sorry. Go on.
No, I was just gonna say the Reagor thing. It is the same. What you were just talking about. It's the same disease. It's the symptom of the same disease as bringing these guys back. Like they think they know best, and they think that Jalen Reagor makes sense because he's an easy fit in what they imagine is a Super Bowl level roster. That is such a misevaluation of what they have, to think that they're just one piece away and to not think long term. It's crazy, and that's the same thing they've been doing for each of the last 3 off seasons.
Yeah, so just for like some subtext to things that are in the answer, because there are always kind of clues that you can dig out. When he was talking about how there was a lot of debate in the draft room about the wide receivers this year, and they went with the one who best fit the offense. The suggestion there is this is who the coaches wanted. There was a quote later on where he was saying, and there's a lot that goes into it. Sometimes it's the medical grade. I'm not talking about the first rounder this year in particular. That was a reference to, I'm assuming
Metcalf.
you're JJ
Metcalf.
Arcega-Whiteside and
Yes.
DK Metcalf, and why they didn't take DK Metcalf. So there's a lot of subtle things in his answers that I don't want to say like are excuse making, but it essentially there are explanations for those picks after the fact.
I mean, I think with the draft picks are sort of, we know there's a luck and randomness to drafting, right? This is why the analytics people say draft for volume, get a bunch of bites at the apple. And so like any of these individual decisions or mistakes or misses in a vacuum is not that big of a deal. I mean, we could pull up any team's, last 5 drafts and you could look at, all right, well, they missed on this guy. They should have taken this guy. It's kind of when you just add all these things up with the draft, with the other things we've gone over, so many times that we don't need to go over all of them right now, that makes it, I think, frustrating.
That's sort of what I mentioned in the column as well, is just that there are a lot of individual decisions that, like, the bad moments that Howie referenced, the one bad moment, there are a lot of bad moments, but in my estimation, it is not all of those decisions which are bets that just went wrong. It is the full plan, the overarching plan that has been the reason that they are where they are now.
Some comments here. We've got, let's see. Hamilton says, I'm going to get pulled halfway through the pod to keep the Athletics draft positioning. I'm sure we'll get to that. Damon says, great follow-up question by Bo today on the Howie press conference. I agree, because I was listening thinking, wait, what's he talking about? The pandemic? But you came in and asked him, what did you mean by that? And I think you just explained what he said he meant by that, right? The pivot. Yeah. Jacob wants to know who won the free T Public shirt. I don't know if you've looked that up yet or not, Bo, but we also have some.
There's a guy who said, I think it was it's a listener. Obviously, it's a listener who he told us that he hit it right on the head. Jake C, I think is his name.
Okay,
he's a guy who's I don't know.
Yeah, I know Jake C, but
yeah.
Listen, you got to double check that. You can't just be letting everyone do that. In the beginning, people were saying this is like Little League where everyone gets a trophy because you were handing them out, but you didn't you didn't say Marissa won anything. So people thought that was a little rude.
I get to produce this podcast, so
okay.
That's what I'm winning.
So she's like, everyone's a loser.
And the new mug,
the new mug. Okay.
Yes. I love my mug.
Now, Ryan says, I've actually seen multiple people ask this, Bo. I don't we probably don't even want to get deep into this right now, but I'll just read it out. The amount of time Bo spent talking about this season never happening, 256 games later, he couldn't have been more wrong. That is from Z-Berm in Philadelphia. No, I'm just
It was not me.
Yeah, it was really really nice to hear the broadcast on Sunday night just filleting the NFL for being able to make it through the season, as if just playing the games themselves is the accomplishment and not everything they put everybody through. And as I've said before, like literally people have died because the NFL played their season this year. They made the pandemic worse, so that's blood on their hands.
All right. Zach, I don't want to get into bigness. We got enough to talk about, but you all have Bo's Twitter account. I think his email address is on there, and you are welcome to continue those discussions with him at any time you would like. EJ says his disappointment at no Eagles pod on his commute to work this morning cannot be understated.
Well,
overstated or understated? Did he do that correctly? Cannot be understated. Cannot be
understated.
I'll take responsibility for that one here. I'll play Howie Roseman. And the
last 3 years I've done 245 pods.
No, I'll explain the rationale here. Frankly, when we had the discussion, I did not think the Eagles would do something that would merit national controversy, national discussion. I thought it was going to be a nothing game, and that come Monday there was going to be a lot to talk about, which which was accurate in that sense, either from a coaching perspective or players talking. We just knew there was a lot that was going to be happening on Monday. So we're like, well, if we're going to pod Monday, do we need to pod at 3 a.m. Sunday? Given the fact that game took on life of its own, I think a pod would have been merited. So I take full responsibility there. But
I was actually waiting for it. Like I was waiting for it. Yeah, I was like, all right, we're going to have to go live.
So there was a legitimate, so Bo texted me, or I was leaving the stadium. It might've been, I got to look at my phone.
It was like 2 in the morning.
Yeah, it was like 2 in the morning. And I texted Bo, like, all right, talk to you tomorrow. And he's like, you want to do the pod now? And I thought he was serious. And I'm like, wait, are you serious? And he's like, no, I'm just kidding. But I was like, oh goodness, like I got to race home.
Oh goodness,
and, get my stuff set up. So
that was almost as bad as organizational hubris.
Ryan wants to recognize the moment here where Zach said, "I haven't read Bo's column yet," and I agree with Shakus. That may not happen. Again,
I just finished mine before we came on. So okay. So that's why.
The litmus test for a successful season should be whether Shield kicks you in the nuts or not. I would agree with that. I'm in on that.
I don't really understand what that means.
Yeah, me neither. But I don't know. It sounds like a Belvedere situation.
Yeah.
All right,
sure
Bo, do you need to read a word from our sponsor?
Yeah, well, speaking of Belvedere situations, a healthy life includes a healthy sex life. But if you struggle with erectile dysfunction, you may not feel like your best self. If you want help with ED, Roman connects you with a real U.S. licensed healthcare professional who can prescribe the medicine you need. With Roman, you can get a free online evaluation and ongoing care for ED, all from the comfort and privacy of your own home. A healthcare professional will work with you to find the best treatment plan. If medication is appropriate, Roman will ship you real medicine with free 2-day shipping. Not fake medicine, real medicine. The whole process is straightforward, simple, and discreet. Getting started is simple. Again, just go to getroman.com/BWF and complete an online visit. Erectile dysfunction used to be tough to talk about, but now there's Roman. Complete an online visit today to connect with a doctor and take care of it. Just go to getroman.com/BWF to get $15 off your first order of ED treatment, a free online visit, and free 2-day shipping. That's getroman.com/BWF for $15 off your first order of ED treatment. Getroman.com/BWF.
And I'm here to tell you about 1010. This episode is brought to you by 1010. Now, you may have read about this in the New York Times or Forbes, and we're excited to tell you about it. 1010 is an exclusive collection of 10 one-of-a-kind engagement rings designed by 10 of the most distinctive designers working today. Using only diamonds responsibly sourced from Botswana, 10 design masters have each produced a uniquely beautiful commitment ring, launching exclusively on January 18th at BlueNile.com. And when they're gone, they're gone. We all know that the diamond engagement ring is iconic. It's a timeless expression of the deepest commitment between two people. And with 1010, it's been beautifully re-envisioned in the hands of 10 modern designers working exclusively with sustainably sourced diamonds. If you're making 2021 plans or looking for a unique and meaningful way to celebrate Valentine's Day, you're definitely going to want to check this out. Again, this exciting limited edition collection of diamond engagement rings launches on January 18th, and you can preview it exclusively at BlueNile.com.
All right. I think we have unpacked most of Howie Roseman's comments. Is that fair to say, Zach?
That is fair to say. Definitely.
Okay. Why don't we move on, I guess, to the other person who was on the conference call with him and didn't really field many questions, and that's Doug Peterson. Let's stick away from the tank stuff for now and just focus on the decision to bring Doug Peterson back, which it seems to be the case. Now, they are set to meet tomorrow, reportedly, Doug and Jeffrey Lurie, but are you surprised, Zach, that Doug is coming back, and do you think it is the right decision?
Yeah, so I go back to our email exchange yesterday where I said I'm not like I certainly wouldn't say surprised, because I think, like I said earlier in this pod, the way they look at it is that there's a proven GM and a proven coach who won them a Super Bowl, and we're in the playoffs 3 consecutive years, and this is the down year, and they're allowed to have a down year. I think that's the way Jeffrey's looking at it. He has loyalty to these two. So you can make that argument if you think the track record matters and they've built that equity, then that's understandable. However, I think the reason for keeping them needs to be, what are they going to do? Because I think the trajectory of the franchise matters. I do believe in equity, and I do believe in the body of work, but what's your plan going forward? And it can't just be, I've done it before. Like, what's going to change? What's going to be different? And obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously, Howie and Doug aren't going to tell you what's going to be different now. But whether it's the right decision is really if there's a plan in place. If they think this year was hindered by COVID and injuries, then it's a flawed decision, because then what you're doing is you're making excuses. If you feel like he has a plan to fix what has become stale, then go forward with it. But I think the variable here that we can't speak enough about is what happens at quarterback, because if they have to choose between the coach and the quarterback, that's a fascinating conversation.
Well, the timeline of this was very interesting, right? It was the reports surface one day about Doug Peterson likely coming back as head coach, and it's the next day where word leaks that Carson Wentz has a fractured relationship with Doug Peterson and wants to be traded. And so that is very interesting, because as we know, owners, decision makers can change their minds. The meeting is tomorrow, right? As we sit here today, things can happen. I think we know what the likely scenario is, but so I think Zach nailed it. I mean, has Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman already made a decision on what they're going to do at quarterback, and that has informed their Doug Peterson decision? Do they think we understand what Carson Wentz says now, but push comes to shove, we'll be able to work it out? I mean, that would probably surprise me a little bit, but it is, you have to look at how all these different things are connected.
Who would you rather bring back, Sheil? Wentz or Peterson?
So we've done, I think
Sorry,
we've done
let me
this
take that
exercise
again.
before.
Let me take that again.
Okay.
Who
Oh, that's what you wanted to redo.
would you rather bring back, Wentz or Peterson?
So it's Wentz and who, and it's Peterson and who.
Okay. Wentz and let's say Arthur Smith, because because Zach respects the way that he's pulled himself up by his bootstraps. Or
I'm gonna make I just want to make a quick comment about that. Okay, he has been retained. He's been retained by 4 different coaches, right? If four coaches come in and they say, I want that guy on the staff, that has nothing to do with who your father is, and it has everything to do
maybe
with...
they get to fly the private jet with him every now and then.
Could be afraid that their Christmas presents aren't going to get where they need to go.
Exactly.
A lot of things
I can't tell you how many Arthur Smith stories and things I have consumed in the past few weeks. Like the sense of humility, the hard work, all that. So So anyways, that's besides the point. But I did see someone point that out, like how he didn't necessarily work his way up. My point is like he's in a totally different profession, and 4 different coaches have held on to him, and I assume that's because of his talent as a coach.
By the way, people very anxious to get our response to a report that came out during this episode. The Chargers.
I'm too upset to even talk about this.
The Chargers bringing in Jason Garrett for a head coaching interview.
I don't know why
Just
people
when you
think
thought
that the
they were
NFL hiring process is broken. I mean, this seems completely fair, and I'm sure there are no minority candidates who would do. You
Jason
idiots!
Garrett.
How are you going to screw this up? You've been gifted this talented,
Oh my
you know,
God.
he's like this unassuming quarterback who he doesn't even see. He seems like he wants like no attention. He's just like cool with everybody. He's got a rocket for an arm. He's got like 7 eyes. His pocket presence is unbelievable. He's dealt with a terrible coaching staff his entire rookie year, still broke all these records. And you're bringing Jason Garrett in. That's a guy who needs to tell his agent, you better start talking to them, or guess what? This is going to be my rookie contract and I'm out of there.
I like to imagine the exit interview with Dean Spanos. Is that his name? The owner of the Chargers. He sits down with Justin Herbert and he says, "Listen, Justin, we're giving you the keys to the franchise. Tell me what you want in a head coach." And Justin says, "You know what? I don't think Anthony Lynn clapped enough. I want someone who's going to clap."
Imagine watching that Anthony Lynn season and then actually doing worse at head coach the next year. I mean, really, the percentages are in your favor.
Isn't it the whole thing? Like what did Anthony Lynn do well? He was a good motivator, right? He got people to play.
He's a likable guy. Yeah,
likable guy. Terrible in-game management. Not a good offense. So you're going to bring in Jason Garrett?
The Giants had the worst offense in the league this year. All right. Anyway, sorry.
Also, by the way, Anthony Lynn's a good discussion point too for the conversation we were having about Doug, because he was 12-4 2 years ago, went 5-11 last year, and they kept him on because of that equity, right? Because this is the down year, and we'll give him another chance, and then it obviously didn't work this year.
Great question from the chat that I feel like I may have to say for the end of the episode, because I don't want to give Zach time to prepare.
Okay.
So if I can remind myself to circle back to this, and maybe we can.
I'll remember.
What was your initial question? This was like 20 minutes ago.
This was about Carson or Doug. Carson or Doug. Yeah.
So
Wentz and Arthur Smith.
Wentz and Arthur Smith, or Doug Peterson and Jalen Hurts.
Well, Jalen Hurts and another option, presumably.
Yeah, and I do think it's fair to say that, Howie Roseman said we need to hit on the number 6 overall pick in a huge, huge way. He really went into it. I think quarterback is absolutely on the table for this team, but we can maybe save that. But
well, I think I've probably been more critical of Wentz than most, and I understand that there's upside there, but I feel like there's a lot to overcome between the accuracy issues, the fumbling, the sort of, some of the habits we saw this year. I understand the argument, and I've made the argument that he's probably likely to be more like the 2018 and 2019 version. But you know what? I wasn't so in love with that version that I want to be paying him the kind of money that he's owed. I know you already are paying a lot of that. So I would be more inclined to go with Doug. I would be more inclined to probably start afresh. But if these are my two options, I would be more inclined to go with Doug Peterson and figure out some things at the quarterback position. Okay. Zach?
I like to start.
Tough. I don't think it's a slam dunk.
Look, I still stand by what I said 4 weeks ago, that I would bet on Carson Wentz becoming a better quarterback going forward than Jalen Hurts. But when you factor in the money component of it, I don't know if I would definitely hitch. I'm not sure I would hitch my wagon to Carson, but I wouldn't choose Hurts over Carson. So what I would do is I would say, we're just going to reset here. I don't think we're going to be a Super Bowl winning team with Carson at quarterback. So let's take a step back. Let's trade him. Let's have a rebuild. But if you're doing that, then there's no point of having a coach on the hot seat, right? Like if you're starting over, what's Doug going to give you next year? Right. So then you completely blow it up. So I don't know if I could say I would take Doug over Carson, because if you're not going with Carson, then what's your quarterback? And I'm not convinced Jalen Hurts is the guy.
Well, and there is, to that point, there is a case to be made from Jeffrey Lurie's perspective for keeping Roseman and Peterson in place for one more year, because right now they're cap strapped. There's not a lot of flexibility, and the roster looks pretty bad. So you sort of, you make them smoke the whole pack, as it were. And then next offseason, if things don't go well, if they're not able to turn things around, then all of a sudden you've got a more attractive job with a little bit more flexibility for both a general manager and a head coach.
Yeah, but you have a big quarterback decision to make this offseason. I mean, this
Well, I
is
think
And you
this
have
is
the
going to
6th pick
set.
in the draft.
Yeah, this is going to set the
Sure.
course for the next. I guess if you were to tell me you're holding on to Carson Wentz, then I could buy that a little bit more, but not really because there's an issue.
I think
with
the only
with head coach,
thing
so
you,
it's messy.
cannot do, you cannot allow Howie Roseman to do is to do the Carson Wentz restructure that creates cap room, because then all of a sudden you're committing to him for even longer term.
Now, I was trying to remember, Bo, from your deep dive on the Carson Wentz draft process. What was the Joe Douglas involvement connection there? Because I have
He
a
wasn't there
follow-up
yet.
question.
He wasn't there.
He
yet.
wasn't
Oh,
there
he
yet.
wasn't there yet. Okay,
No.
so there was, but I do remember.
It was Howie, Tom Donahoe, Doug Peterson,
Okay.
and Frank Reich,
When did Douglas
and
get
Flip
there?
went out there too.
and Flip.
Yeah, Doug went. I'm sorry. Joe Douglas got hired later that spring.
After the
So
draft.
Okay.
he got hired
Because I
after the
remember
draft.
him saying something.
He liked Carson in college. I know that.
Yeah, and this
Yeah.
might have been casually, but somebody
Yeah.
was asking him like, "When did you know he was special or something?" And it was like, at practice, and he was just. I mean,
Yeah.
that's probably something you just say when a guy's good, but he was around the guy for a while.
Yeah.
So Carson Wentz to the Jets. Carson Wentz. And number 6 to the Jets for number 2. And I got to throw something else in there, probably. Yes or no? Or are
I
you
don't know.
thinking
I
about
think
it?
that's. I
You're
think
thinking
that's
about it? Okay. All right. Carson Wentz and the 6th pick. So you move up 4 spots. You
I would
fall
do
in
that.
love with one of these quarterbacks. You don't do it.
No, I
So
would.
Zach would love to.
Oh,
do
you
that.
would do
I mean,
it.
yeah, but
Oh,
I've
if you're
been
the
all-
Eagles.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that would be an interesting move for the Jets.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be a bad move for the Jets.
And
I
what?
don't think Jets fans would like that.
You don't
definitely.
think they would like that?
No.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
Not
you
at
can
all.
steal,
What would
you can
Darnold?
steal
Yeah.
that one for the.
Who do you like, Zach?
Well, I mean, that's the thing is so, and all these are on the record. I think I've said weeks ago that I was really into Justin Fields. Like I mean, obviously Lawrence is the number
It's a
one guy.
nice performance by
yeah,
Justin
but
Fields.
so-
You're not in on the
when-
Mormon Manziel?
No, so when Dane Brugler had Wilson, I think I might have said it on this podcast that Dane knows more than I do about this, but I really like Fields. And then that game the other night, shot Fields up. But in the most recent top 10 that Dane had, I think he had Fields going 1 pick after the Eagles. And I think he had, and I remember saying if Fields is on the board, man, because he has every tool you could want, right?
Can I tell you that I'm not in love with him? I don't know why. I just something's missing.
If you watch the Northwestern game a few weeks ago, he was bad that game, right?
Yeah.
And then he looked totally different against Clemson. But I mean, he's a young quarterback, and he's been really good. So outside of Trevor Lawrence, yeah, Fields definitely. And I think I like Fields more than Wilson.
Yeah, I'm not ready to go on record with any of my terrible draft.
Well, I can tell you
takes
that
yet,
I don't want Zach Wilson on the team. That's all I can tell you.
I was very impressed and smitten with Fields in that game, though. I mean, my gosh, that hit and then some of the throws he was making was incredible. And so there's going to be a lot of we'll see what he does next week here. But I thought that was obviously a signature moment for him. In his career, and probably got on it. You know how football, scouts operate. They'll see a guy who just got his. I don't even know what the injury. What was the injury? He didn't know what the injury was. They just shot him up, right?
Ribs,
That was nice.
No,
So they didn't even diagnose him.
Yeah, they didn't diagnose him.
College athletics. There you go. I don't know. They just gave me 2
let's
shots.
force these kids to play in a pandemic.
The guy couldn't even move, and then all of a sudden he's throwing lasers left and right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! I wonder what it was like waking up the next day for him. But we will see. Yeah, we will see if they consider quarterback.
Well, and on Doug, as we've said, I think the question to answer is not, is he the right head coach, but is there a way that he can help fix the offense, because that is what this team is missing.
Yeah, the
Just
staff,
terrible offense.
and we don't have to get into it tonight, but the staff.
Well, this is worth talking
real
about.
big.
Yeah.
But I am
Well, we
curious.
should wait
what
on
did
that
Doug-
because that
like
news will
while
probably
we're on
come
this
out
discussion-
in 24 hours,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, while we're on the discussion, I'm real curious your guys' opinion on. So Jimmy Kemsky asked a good question today to Howie, which is basically when if you're back, you're on the hot seat. Does that affect the decisions that you make? And the same could be applied to Doug as well. So I think we can assume if Howie and Doug are back next year and they have a season like this, it would be really hard to rationalize another year with them, right? So does that affect the way they coach? Does
from
that affect their
2017 to 2020, we won 43 games. Come on, baby.
Sometimes I fall in love with these guys for better or worse, but we thought our window, because there was a vaccine in 2021, and so we thought that the East Coast getting that vaccine before the NFC North teams, we thought we had a window there to win a Super Bowl. Turns out that didn't happen. There were some issues with getting that shipped out, getting that to everybody, and so it didn't work out. But we realize now that you got to draft. You got to get younger. You can't hold on to these older players.
And listen, nobody on the East Coast is watching these BYU games, man. We're the only ones up grinding this BYU Zach Wilson tape.
No, it's funny.
I don't know why I'm giving him a stoner voice.
Yeah, I don't know what. It feels like there are a lot of people in the chat who would appreciate that, who are enjoying some late night relaxation right now.
It's funny you said that about the excuses because last week this was like within an hour of each other. I'm listening to Doug say, what they really need is the offseason program to get back the fundamentals. And then like an hour later, I read the Brown center, who's the
JC Tretter.
Yeah, JC Tretter.
Nice drop in, Marissa.
Yeah, thank you.
Saving you.
And JC Tretter say like this year is an example that we don't need the offseason program, right? And he gave all these numbers about like how they said how the game is going to be more sloppy, but the penalties are down, and how the NFL is the only sport that has these practices during the offseason. So it was like Doug said, well, our solution is the offseason program. Yeah. And then the NFLPA is like, wait, we don't need the offseason program anymore.
And they're absolutely right.
That was my take in like March. Remember that everybody's going to be quick to jump on. Oh my gosh, look at this sloppy play here. I did not watch a single game this year where I thought, man, this is sloppy. If only they would have had those OTAs.
Up. Nope.
No, there's no data that's except for coaches and just wanting the guys in the building longer.
All right. Next up on the coaching front, Jim Schwartz moving on. And we did unpack this on theathletic.com, which you can read, and you should subscribe. Theathletic.com/BWF will still get you a nice spicy deal. So we won't go maybe as heavy into it as we did there, but let's talk about it a bit. Were you surprised by this? And, how difficult is it going to be to replace Jim Schwartz? I think, the notion that, this came out on Saturday ahead of the final game of the season, and there is some debate about whether it's Jim Schwartz getting ahead of something or whether it is real. I think we'll sort of get an answer to that based on what the Eagles do at defensive coordinator. For instance, if they elevate Matt Burke, I think you could take the report exactly as it is. Like maybe there was some kind of succession plan in place, whereas if they go out and hire like Gus Bradley, who potentially could get fired from the Chargers, or a John Fox, then maybe it's something that could have been coming down the pike the other way.
So I was going to call you guys out on something.
Okay.
And
Let's hear it, baby.
Now, when I say you guys, not Marissa. Okay. Bow and Shield. And I say this partially in jest, but it's actually applicable for this episode because you brought up the Jason Garrett thing. And you're like, do these people have any type of creativity, or do they just recycle the same? So when you guys submitted the names of your defensive coordinators, basically you just went on the list of like,
and you know why, Zach? Because you don't have because position coaches don't have to be granted access to be interviewed for coordinator jobs.
I'm saying that changed.
That changed? I don't think so.
Yeah. Didn't you read the Deuce Staley article that Dan Pompei wrote, where he said it's like the Deuce Staley rule that you can't, that if it includes an upgrade in responsibility?
I didn't know that. That was the presumption I was operating.
Yeah. So
I'm calling you out. Okay. If you want to take that at Bo, go ahead. Quote under the Kapadia section, I think the Eagles would be wise to think outside the box and explore the college ranks too.
Mm-hmm.
All
All
I
right, fair
said
enough.
was
Okay.
the only thing I said about Matt Burke was when the Eagles hired Matt Burke, it seemed like they had hopes of him growing within the organization. So maybe
No,
he's
you
an
were
option.
touting Wade Phillips. You said their first call needs to be to Wade
Okay,
Phillips.
well, listen, Wade Phillips is like
She'll
if
just
they
wants
could-
him to unblock him. That's fine.
Wade Phillips is like if Andy Reid was available on the open market and the Chargers interviewed Andy Reid. Wade Phillips has a track record of like 25 years of being the best defensive coordinator in the NFL. That's why you mentioned Wade Phillips.
I actually think
I'm saying don't interview the old white guys who suck. You can interview the old white guys who are good.
now I would say that I was not going by who I would hire, but who I think the Eagles will be attracted to, because I think that is their MO. But it's a fair point. I did not know that position coaches could or had to be granted permission to go interview. So I give you a tip of the cap there. Good job reading every single article
yeah.
that's published on the site, and that.
I'm
helped
kind
you
of
out
half
there.
joking, but my point
No,
is,
it's good.
is that, yeah, but like
Wade Phillips and Jason
I
Garrett.
tried to offer
I-
some names. I tried to offer some names in there that were like a little different. Weren't just like from the the recycled defensive coordinator.
Well, I'm giving you John Fox came to visit training camp a summer ago. He shares the same agent as
I'm giving you the
Doug
two most
Peterson.
impressive.
Come on, that's a
defensive-
nugget.
I'm giving you the two defensive coordinators in college football that really jumped out to me watching them this year, and I'm giving you
Who was
position
that?
coaches. Cincinnati's Marcus Freeman and Wisconsin's Jim Leonard, and then I mentioned guys with Eagles connections who are linebackers coaches elsewhere, D'Amico Ryans and Mike Caldwell.
Oh, I like it, D'Amico.
Yeah,
All
D'Amico's
right,
good. I had
D'Amico's
thought
a
about
good
D'Amico,
one.
but I
like
didn't
it,
think it was
D'Amico.
allowed.
So, but it
There you
sounds
go.
like, and our colleague Matt Barrows out in San Francisco had a tweet out today that D'Amico Ryans might be the replacement for Robert Saleh if Saleh gets the job.
There you go.
So the other thing that we need to
I'm
talk
just
about
kidding,
here
guys.
is-
By the way, but I
please.
was going to point that out.
Well, Marcus
become even
Freeman,
harder
you know,
for you.
I did like Cincinnati money line in that bowl game, and you know he didn't exactly shine there at the end, rushing 3 and giving up the game-winning score. I'm just saying, you know. So
Fair enough. Okay.
I did like his sideline demeanor, though.
I do think that the state of the roster and the state of the cap means that the Eagles don't have the flexibility right now to like totally change their scheme. So, you know, Wade Phillips would be nice, but they don't really, it's not like Wade Phillips can come in and
I disagree with
he
that.
could be fine.
Come
but I guess,
on.
you think that's
Listen,
overstated?
Yeah.
You're going to move
it's
Brandon
not-
Graham to outside linebacker again?
He's played that before. And third down, he's going to be rushing the passer from defensive end. Yeah, I don't think that's a big deal. Connor Barwin's on staff. He'll tell you. I remember him telling us Wade Phillips is the one gap 3-4. He'll be okay. I'll tell you what I want in a defense. Now, I agree with what you said about Schwartz. I think we'll find out one way or another. I mean, if Schwartz is like hired for a defensive coordinator job in 2 weeks, then we will know that something was up. I don't really say that jokingly. I think that could I think that could happen. I think Jim Schwartz did a very good job. At the same time, I think it's perfectly fine, even if it was the organization saying we want to go in a different direction. I mean, 5 years is a long time for a coordinator, and specifically one with a personality like Jim Schwartz. I could see you thinking, all right, let's go in a different direction. So I feel like I would like, I think the two trends we're seeing league wide, one of them.
It's always good when we can get league-wide shield in with an important perspective.
There are some defensive coaches who just say, we're going to play man coverage and our guys are going to be able to match up with your guys and we're going to beat you that way. That is the Belichick formula, Brian Flores. And then when it goes badly, because you have to pour a lot of resources into cornerback when you do that.
Yeah, you think this roster is ready for that?
This roster's
so
not
much.
ready for anything. We've been over that. There's maybe Wade Phillips, but Wade Phillips or D'Amico Ryans. I don't think anybody else could do anything. But, like the Dolphins, they've got Xavier Howard, Byron Jones. They've got the most expensive cornerback room in the league. They used a first-round pick, so they can do it that way. When you play that way and it goes badly, you have the Lions. You say, we're going to play man coverage as much as anyone in the league. Our cornerbacks are not good. We do nothing else creatively. We have the worst defense in the NFL. So I'm not totally in favor of that way. I like the sort of Vic Fangio tree, which would be, we're going to do a lot of pre-snap disguise. We don't need these shutdown corners who are going to cost a lot of money. We're going to cloudy the picture for the quarterback before the snap. I don't think you can play sort of the Seattle way with we're going to line up in cover 3. We don't care if you know what we're doing. We have the answers. We know all the route concepts. I mean, I think that's sort of been proven to be a bad way to play. So I would like someone with a little more creativity, some different blitz schemes. I know Eagles fans have been calling for that for every year with Schwartz. They want them to blitz more. I agree. It's more fun to watch. I don't know. You'd have to do a study whether it's necessarily more effective. You need the right guys, but a little bit more creativity, a little bit more aggressive. I would be in favor of that.
I mean, I think that's definitely fair and good perspective. I think that the roster is still built around its defensive line. Like,
now you're doing what Howie does. Who cares what the roster looks like right now? You don't have to build around these guys. You're looking ahead. You got to look ahead.
That's true.
Yeah.
If there's some guy you're really excited about, sure.
Well,
but it's also, are you going to bring in an inexperienced guy to be the quote unquote head coach of the defense with Doug Peterson basically ignoring the position or the side of the ball? I don't know.
Like
probably if you like the guy, you like the guy. That's fine. But
like Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave are going to be on the team, right? Like that's you're going to have those two guys just based on the
they played in any scheme. They're fine.
Sure. Yeah.
Those guys. I
think that you have to, like, from a Howie perspective, because Howie is obviously influential in these decisions. They didn't pay Javon Hargrave all that money to be a 2-gap defensive tackle where he's not making money. So I think that will play into their decision. Whether or not it should is a different question, but I think it will.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very small pool of candidates who would say come in and run the 2. I mean, unless you're bringing Jerry Azanero back in here. I mean, really, yeah. I mean,
that'd be a twist.
I think teams, some teams mix that in, but that's or you might do it in certain instances. But I don't think that would be a base sort of defense, where you would really have to worry about it.
All right.
What else we got? I guess I should tell you.
That's right.
About a little magic spoon. I'm trying to, I feel like I really, let myself go over the last month. Just, Bo's dropping off cookies. I'm eating all types of sugary stuff. If it's on the counter, I got to have it. I say, hide it in the closet. I don't want to know about it. I think we were supposed to get a free brownie with our dinner tonight. And I told my wife, I don't want to know about it. Keep it away from me or I will eat it. It's a new year. Trying to develop some better habits, not bad habits.
A special brownie.
Well, I think some of our listeners are having those special brownies, but Magic Spoon will also give you a great feeling. Growing up, you loved cereal, you had all the different types, but those are full with sugar. Just like I said, you can't be eating that kind of stuff anymore. So that's where Magic Spoon comes in. 0 sugar, 11 grams of protein, and only 3 net grams of carbs in each serving. So many of you have asked, and now I love a company who listens to its customer base and makes changes. And people were asking for the custom boxes. Well, you can build your very own custom variety box right now. You can choose from cocoa, fruity, frosted, and blueberry flavors. I love a fruity. And the new ones, peanut butter and cinnamon. That's making me hungry right now. It tastes amazing. Too good to be true. Keto friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, low carb, and GMO free. Go to magicspoon.com/birds to grab a variety pack and try it today. And be sure to use our promo code BIRDS at checkout to save $5 off your order. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they will refund your money. No questions asked. That's magicspoon.com/birds and use the code BIRDS to save $5 off. We thank Magic Spoon for sponsoring this podcast.
I'm going to jump in here and talk to everyone who is watching this on their Wi-Fi, because is your Wi-Fi struggling to keep up with your streaming, work, gaming, video calling, and more? What about all at once? When you're connected to your world by Wi-Fi, be sure it's the best. Bring your Wi-Fi up to speed with Orbi Wi-Fi 6 from Netgear. Orbi Wi-Fi 6 is the best and latest in Wi-Fi. It covers your entire home with unmatched speeds and performance for uninterrupted working and learning, video calling, and streaming at home on more devices than ever before in any part of your house. With Wi-Fi this advanced, you're going to want it everywhere. Ready for the best Wi-Fi ever? Find out what makes Netgear America's #1 choice for Wi-Fi at netgear.com/best Wi-Fi. That's netgear.com/best Wi-Fi.
Way to take the be enthusiastic note on that bad boy.
Just doing as instructed, right?
I don't know if I can't remember if we talked about this on pod, off pod, or maybe in a Google brief. But for listeners, Zach, famous within the circle of the four of us, I guess the square, for the absolute fastest upload speed, dynamic Wi-Fi he has.
Unbelievable.
So he was the right man for that read.
I don't think it's the Wi-Fi though. I think it's the company laptop. I think
before.
it's.
I don't think that's right.
It is. I
think you've got better upload speed.
No, I think it's what I record on because I've had my
It
internet
could be
drop during this.
it could be your file size. Like
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, the way you guys have your mics set up, so a little behind the curtain. I record through Zoom, but they all record locally, so we don't have any internet hiccups.
let
when I
know
edit
all the
everything
secrets.
together. Yeah, so it could be that, Bo, you have your mic set to like extreme high quality, and
Yeah,
your
because I'm a high quality guy.
Your file size is bigger. I do notice that your files are larger, so maybe that's it. But I think it could be Zach just being a rock star. So
okay, fair enough.
So it's Jacob who won the DFOP. Jacob who won the T Public, Bo. So he's making it easy for you. I mean, you can
Birds
double
with
check
Friends
it.
podcast at gmail.com.
And he says he also this week won on my plus 2,000 preseason prop. Deshaun Watson leads the league in passing yards.
Wow.
I don't even remember giving that one. I got to check my preseason prop.
Wow, good for
Plus
you.
2,000. Man.
Yeah, that's some nice lettuce there.
That's
Jake.
fantastic.
Yeah.
We can buy some more T Public shirts.
That's pretty good. Nice
I mean,
job.
I don't know. I don't
nice
know
job
that
out
he
of
won.
both of you.
I don't know that he won $2,000. We're not going to
Well.
get in, ask him, but a nice chunk of change.
Yeah,
Yeah, but if
absolutely.
you put $10 down, he won 200, right?
There you go. All right.
There you go. Okay, one more thing to get to, I think, before we get in unpack the tank discussion from Sunday night, and that is Zach Ertz's Zoom session from today. Zach, since you are the resident Zach, I'll let you explain to us what happened.
Yeah, so look, it's been pretty clear all season long that the way this was heading, right? That Zach Ertz is not going to be on the team next year. He obviously was pretty outspoken before the season, saying he's approaching this like it's his last year, and everything came up with the contract. And then to add to that, it's been a bad season for him. It's been his worst season, I think, since his rookie season. And so he said that. Well, I'll give this quick context. Last night, he was the last one off the field. He sat on the bench after everyone left the field. And then he came back afterwards, and him, Carson Wentz, Jason Kelsey, and Dom DeSandro, the team security chief, had like a 40-plus minute confab, talk in an empty stadium on the sideline.
Good word, confab.
You don't see this very often. Like it was striking watching it. And so it was clear that, well, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but maybe this was saying goodbye, right? And also his brother wrote a very personal, touching letter about everything that Zach has accomplished here and in the city. And so Zach Ertz said that he doesn't know if he's not going to be, if that was his last game. But, he really grew up here. He came here when he was 22 and went through a lot. And he was going on through the press conference, and it was pretty clear as the press conference was going on that he's not expecting to be back. He said at one point, I can maybe come back and finish my career here. And then the last question he was asked about his legacy. And that's when he grew emotional. And he said that he's not the best Eagle. But playing in Philadelphia has meant everything to him. And he was talking about what the city, I guess what it takes to play in the city and how it's hardened him and what he's learned from it and how he's gone about it. And so we will write about it in the next few days. And I imagine there's video online you can see, but it was really, it was personal and him kind of explaining what the city, what the fan base, and his career, all that it's taken to get to that moment.
Yeah, and I think the flip side to haranguing the organization for keeping some of these guys around too long potentially, is that it is like, their fans and the players become attached to each other, and it is one of the big bummers of this season. Like, no fans in the stands to get to potentially say goodbye to Zach Ertz or maybe Jason Kelce or any of these other guys, and you do sort of wonder, like, what in the alternate reality in which there were fans in the stands this season, would things have turned out any differently? I don't know. Maybe.
With their record?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe the team would have been chastened by boos a little bit more. Maybe Carson Wentz responds better. Who knows? It's butterfly effects.
Home field advantage, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, they were losing these games by a little bit too much, I think, for that.
Now, Sheil, you have a lot of insight
right.
on Zach. I mean, you did that big story a few years ago.
Yeah, no, I
it takes
think
a village.
I think it's been. Was that part of it? I think
that was the headline.
Was that the headline? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I went to Zach Ertz's hometown. I remember, this is a good peek behind the curtain. I remember seeing Zach, at the airport, we're competing outlets at the time though. And I think Zach said like, are you on the 8:15 or something? And I said, no, I'm not going back to Philadelphia right now. And I could see the wheels spinning there for Seaverm.
There were two examples of this. There was another one after the owners meetings. We were in Phoenix and I asked when your flight back is, and you're like, no, I'm going somewhere else. And then every day I'm logging on to the Athletic, like, what is Sheil writing that I don't have here? And then I even texted you at one point and you said, oh, don't worry, it's not an Eagles story. And it was the Daniel Jeremiah piece.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was so worried.
There's another one where I was going out to Nashville early for a Derek Barnett story. And you were like, I was going out a day early, I think, and you were wheel spinning on that one too.
Yeah, that happens.
Which that one didn't end up going out for another like half year because he got injured. But anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, was in his hometown and talking to his mom, family members, some family friends. Went to Stanford, talked to some of his coaches there, and it has been a great run for him in Philadelphia. I mean, second round pick. I was gone for that Bengals game, but that seemed like a real low point for him, for his family, which I can imagine. I mean, his mom, has a Twitter account. And so, I mean, I always wonder like what I would be like if your kid is playing. I would probably not be able to stop myself from reading everything that was written about him. And the guy's just, getting crushed. And so, that was certainly a low point for him. I remember his first media availability in Philadelphia, where he had I just said Philadelphia, like Zach's vernacular there. You're rubbing up on me, but he was sweating. He had he was sweating.
I was in the building for I mean, I with the team website, we got the first thing, and it was it was tough to watch.
Very nervous.
For the guy.
Yeah. And so then he coached himself up. He wanted to make it a priority. And then I remember by the time it got to the questions of, are you guys going to the White House? As Zach Ertz is like, oh, I can take this one, and just stands up there. I remember, was it last year where he had the real serious injury, right? And I remember at his locker, he was almost moved to tears because of what he had come back from. And I mean, that Super Bowl performance is among the most clutch performances by any Philadelphia athlete of our lifetime. And so he's had an incredible career. We'll see where he goes. Hopefully he goes to a pass-heavy offense. And who knows, maybe him and Carson Wentz will end up on the same team. I don't think it makes sense for the team to bring him back. Obviously he, maybe he would benefit from a sort of fresh start, go to a championship contender and see what happens there.
You think there'd be a trade market for him, Sheil?
Well, he's got 1 year left at how much?
I can't tell you off the top of my head.
Okay. Not a big number, but you would think that the trade would probably have to come with a
restructure
extension. I don't know. Hayden Hurst was on a rookie contract though, I believe, wasn't he? last year. He got a second round pick.
They're the same age, but he was on a rookie contract.
All right. So, and Zach Ertz, can you hear me? It says my internet connection is unstable.
Yeah,
oh gosh.
You paused for a minute, but I think you're good now.
I would have to think about that more. I don't know if there would be a trade market for him.
Okay.
The free agent class of tight ends is basically Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, two younger guys with more upside who are not as accomplished as Zach Ertz.
All right, let's get into.
So just one quick Zach Ertz thing there, because Sheil mentioned, that first press conference, right? So Zach Ertz, he had a stutter when he was younger. He went to speech therapy, and so Sheil mentioned the time that he spoke with the White House, but there's something else that like really stands out to Zach, because I did a story on this in particular. He spoke at the parade after Jason Kelce, right? So Jason goes and gives this like epic speech, right? And Zach Ertz, who really worked hard on his speech to speak in these public settings, he had to go up there right after Kelce. And
that's brutal.
Yeah, and so I remember him talking about that as like a big speaking moment in his life, was speaking at the parade.
That's tough. The good thing about that is no one's going to remember either way.
Yeah,
how you did after that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sheil.
Someone suggested Ertz to the Chargers. I kind of like that. They let Hunter Henry go. Don't pay big bucks for him. Just bring Ertz in for a year. Nice intermediate target. I don't know.
Yeah. That Jason Garrett offense, he could flourish.
Well, that's what someone said. I wasn't going to read that part. Let's, get somebody else in there.
Okay. Let's talk about the game last night, which, caused quite a stir, and whether you thought it was untoward what the Eagles did last night. I think I will start by saying I don't think that this decision is on Doug. Like, I think it would be pretty naive to think this was Doug pulling all the strings here. But I did think that the way they did it, I mean, obviously they are incentivized to play for the number 6 pick. I think it was the right thing to do to not win the game. But the way they did it was a little bit creepy, I guess.
Creepy.
Yeah, like
someone said, please don't talk about the game.
Well, that's fair. I thought it was a little brazen, a little naked to just like wait until the fourth quarter and then bring in Nate Sudfeld, who Doug is talking about as if he's like, the manager on the high school basketball team who worked hard for 4 years, and you want to give him a shot to shoot a 3 on senior night. Like, this is a guy getting paid $2 million to be a backup quarterback. It's not like a charity case. He doesn't need a chance to play. He's played in the NFL before. So I thought it was a little bit gross, and I understand the visceral reaction from people. That said, like the Giants fans and Joe Judge's comments today has fully made it turn the full gritty, where we were upset about it until you were upset about it, and now we love it, I feel like. But anyway, I don't know. I didn't tee you up with anything, Zach. What?
Yeah, no, I think you put it well, in that they're not the first team to care about draft position or play young players. And I have no issue with them doing that. Frankly, it's better for the organization. The way they did it was more brazen. Like we knew going into the game based on reports, Jeff McLean had it first, then Mike Garafolo had it, that Nate Sudfeld was going to play, right? So we discussed this. We knew it was going to happen. And I think what happened was this. That was their plan all along, but Doug did not think it was going to be a close game, right? So that they were going to be losing.
He overestimated.
Yeah,
another great example of preparing for every situational football. Yeah. They've been all over it all year.
Well, because the one guy who did not seem to be on board with this plan was Jim Schwartz, who was like,
or Hurts.
Who was totally into the game. But that I think that they thought they would put Sudfeld into like a blowout late in the game and no one would mind. And then the fourth quarter comes, it's a 3-point game. And like, they haven't put Sudfeld in yet. And he's like, well, this was our plan. We told Nate he was going to play. So Nate goes in. So it was unseemly. It was brazen, but the reality is this, like if you're offended by that, going into the game, they literally didn't dress a full roster. Like they had,
Did you see the defense they had on the field?
Yeah,
The secondary? Rudy Ford was the starting cornerback.
Like you were allowed to dress what 48 players, and they dressed 45 players, right? You know, like they had healthy scratches. They didn't even like put guys on IR and call up guys from the practice squad. They're just like, all right, we'll play with this. So going into the game, they showed you what they were thinking. So and I think too what Bo said. The Giants went 6-10 this year, right? You know, if the Giants are so frustrated, they should have beaten the Eagles when they were 1-4-1. The Eagles were 1-4-1. You know, the Giants lost that game, so I don't feel bad for the Giants, but I do think more. And I think Sheil had this point on Twitter. I don't want to speak for you, but the players like Jason Kelce and Brandon Graham and Zach Ertz who are out there, they're putting their bodies on the line. Literally, you owe it to them to win the game. To try to win the game.
All right, concussion uncle. Let's hear what you got.
Well, that's my problem with this. I mean, I never knew people were like so passionate about this. I mean, settle down, tankers. My God, it's not, not everyone who says that they didn't like what was going on has to be a concussion uncle. I mean, so there are a few really. I mean, this is like the feedback I feel like there was. Yeah, I mean, you guys, mentioned it in your piece on The Athletic, and I saw the first comment was somebody mentioning that too. So I don't have an issue with not going all out and playing for draft position. However, I will say, as Brian Burke here, the godfather of analytics, has mentioned, that the research has pretty much shown that you don't know the probability. I'll just read his. The probability that the player you can get at 6 will turn out better than the player you can get at 9 is very small. I mean,
yes, but.
No, but the optionality.
You want the option, yes.
It's not even the option. It's the marketplace. It's if you want to trade up or trade down, that's what is an actual big difference. If you look at trades up and down, you're going to get much more value.
He said the trade down value is better at 6 than 9, but the market isn't liquid. Very small number of trading partners who potentially want to jump to 6, even smaller number who need 6 but not 9. Anyway, we can all agree you would rather have 6 than 9. That's not the point. I disagree with anybody who thinks like you're definitely going to, that there's this greater likelihood that the guy you get at 6 is going to be the guy and you couldn't have got him at 9. That's overconfidence in your ability to scout the top 10 players. And if any organization has not earned that, it would be this organization.
Well, I do think there's a segment of Eagles fans who are like, who cares what pick we get because Howie's going to ruin it anyway. I do think that the higher you get, there is a better likelihood that it's going to be, bust proof. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like they should have had a better plan for this. I mean, really, why couldn't they just have announced on Wednesday that Nate Sudfeld is starting the second half?
Absolutely.
We want to get young guys in there. And that's what it's going to be, because instead it looks like you're in this competitive game. Yep. You have a chance to win it. And then all of a sudden you're pulling Hurts out and putting Sudfeld in. That wasn't even my issue. My issue was, watching a guy like Jason Kelce have to snap the football in the fourth quarter of what could be the last game of a potentially Hall of Fame career to Nate Sudfeld, so that the organization, I mean, we've seen Jason Kelce in the locker room after these games. I mean, he is at his locker. He is stripping the tape off his fingers. He is limping to the locker room. There are games where he's in such a bad mood because his entire body is in pain, which Bo has documented so well, that anybody who crosses him, you feel like he's going to rip their head off if he doesn't know who they are. And so to throw that guy out there in that situation, because your incompetent franchise that has done everything wrong the entire season, the last 3 seasons, can jump up 3 spots to waste the pick or make a terrible decision, that annoyed me. And so I said it. And so if that makes me a concussion uncle, that makes me a concussion uncle. That puts a bad taste in my mouth. I understand you want the better draft pick. I understand the stakes were low. Just like do it in a way that makes some sense. Get him out of the game. Get Zach Ertz out of the game. I know you only have a certain number of players, but like think it through. come up with a plan so that you don't look like complete freaking buffoons on the last game of the season that has no meaning. And, you know, I'll steal like Zach's nuanced take here. It's like either you have to be going, you know, with this outrage that, you know, you're going to make sure Joe Biden on his first day of the presidency does something to address this. It's like either you got to go there or you have to be like, this is awesome. Yeah, they should have lost earlier. Like there is a middle ground where you can say, I understand what they're doing. You know what? I'm sitting here watching it and it still seems kind of crappy to me. Hundreds of teams have been put in this situation before, and I don't know that anyone's done it as stupidly as they did it.
Yes.
So that's my take. If you got a problem with it, I'm not going to be reading your comments and I'm blocking you from the chat. All right. Not the last part. I got a little fired up.
I feel like we should close the show. That was a great way to end it. That was great. I don't have much to add. I think you're right. They can't even, this organization is so broken. They can't even tank well.
Yeah.
They don't even,
they can't even figure out how to do that right.
Yeah. They lost 10 or 15 games going into it, and they couldn't figure out how to lose the 16th game. Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Like you can play everyone. You're probably still going to lose.
Exactly.
You've been trying to win for 16, 15 weeks and you can't do it.
Unbelievable. I mean, just like you said, just say we're going to play Sudfeld half the game. It's fine. They could have started
that's literally
Sudfeld.
all they really had to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it is, I will say it is like, it's on the NFL for putting this game in primetime. I know they didn't have any other choice, but
yeah, I don't
like,
care about the
what
Giants
did you
end of it.
expect?
I mean, really.
Yeah, did you see the Joe Judge thing?
No, I haven't watched it. No, it seemed like it was
It's pretty
going
pathetic.
viral there. Yeah.
It's pretty pathetic. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I feel like that's, I don't want to add much more. I feel like that was a good way to end it out of your show.
We'll do Pastaficios on the next episode.
We do actually. We have one thing I have to circle back on because it's in my notes. It was in the chat, and someone wants to know, Zach, are you listening? Are you there, Zach?
Oh man, we went so long. The AirPods are done.
The AirPods are done. We went long enough that the AirPods have.
Yeah, the AirPods are done. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Are you ready for your challenge, Zach?
What's the challenge?
Are you ready? I'm going to tell you what it is.
I have no idea what he's talking about for the record,
Hold
and
on.
I'm pretty sure Marissa doesn't either.
I know what he's talking about.
Marissa
Yeah,
does.
Marissa
Okay.
knows.
Yep. Bo
Zach,
and I have become like on the same wavelength.
we didn't even message
That-
about it. I think
you
we're-
better
Yep,
watch.
swear to
That's
God.
not
That's-
a good thing for
That's
you.
a dangerous place for Marissa to be. Zach, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. The audio is not great, but it's good enough. What's the challenge?
Okay. Can Zach Berman name all 32 NFL owners?
Oh, absolutely. Like that's.
All right,
I'm on
He's
4 hours,
insulted.
but I can do that. That's-
Somebody asked for strength and conditioning coaches, but I mean that seems like
yeah,
a
well, someone
bridge
asked for
too
chief security officers.
No, I can't
from
do
Dom.
chief security officers, but the team owners I can do.
So
right.
someone also put a sporcle in the chat. We could tweet it out of all the 80 players that have played for the Eagles so far this year. If you can name them all,
That's a
pretty
good one. We should
So
do
we could
that
do-
this offseason.
we
But,
could have a timer. But yeah, okay, do the owners.
I have
All right, so do you
zero
want me to do it,
interest.
or like I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
knock it out pretty quickly?
Oh yeah, we want to hear it.
Okay.
And speed is key.
All right, so the
All right,
NFC.
so set a timer. Wait, hold on.
Okay, let's Sheila, you want to get let's each write down how quickly we think you can do it.
I'm going.
Look here. Do you want to
Oh,
give
how
me the
quickly?
team,
No,
and then I'll do it? Like, okay,
no, we want to hear your
because
beautiful mind work.
32.
I'll spend some time thinking about the teams, but all right. So, and by the way,
hold on, we got to write that. So we're writing down the seconds, Bo.
Yeah.
Who's
wow.
who's doing the timer?
You're. I got the timer,
Okay.
And do I need the specific?
and I'll keep
name,
track of team.
Or, and do I need the specific name, or can it be the family?
I think
Last
family.
name. Last name is fine.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Then I can definitely do this. Okay.
Okay.
Ready?
Okay.
Did someone in the chat ask about this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
Okay.
On your mark,
Mm-hmm.
get set, go.
All right, the NFC East is Eagles, Lurie, the Giants, Mara and Tish. Washington is Daniel Snyder, and then the Cowboys are Jerry Jones. Okay, the South, Falcons are Arthur Blank, Panthers are David Tepper, the Bucks are the Glazer family, and then the Saints is Benson, Benson's wife.
Gail.
Gail.
Yeah, Gail Benson. Then let's see the NFC North. You got the Lions. That's Sheila Hemp or that Sheila Ford Hemp. It's the Ford family.
Correct.
Sheila.
correct.
The Vikings it's the Wilf family. Steve Wilf. The Bears is the McCaskey family. And then the Packers is it's a publicly owned company, so it's not family ownership. All right, and then I need the West here. 49ers is Jed York. The Seahawks, it was Paul Allen. Now it's his sister, right? It's Paul Allen. So I believe it's the state of Allen or
Okay.
Paul Allen's sister.
Jody Allen.
Jody
Yeah,
Allen, yeah.
trustee. She's a trustee. Yep. Mhm.
Okay. The Cardinals is the Bidwell family. I think it's Michael Bidwell. And
Yep.
then,
The state of Bill Bidwell.
what's that?
It's the estate of.
The estate of-
Keep going.
Yeah. Okay. And then the Rams is Stan Kroenke. So that's the NFC, right?
Okay.
All right,
Yes.
So now let's go to the AFC. Let's go back to the East. The Patriots is Robert Kraft. The Jets is Woody Johnson, but he's the ambassador to Great Britain now, so it's his brother.
He's coming back.
What's
Yeah.
that?
He's coming back in a couple weeks. Go ahead.
Okay.
January 20th.
Yeah, and then Dolphins is Stephen Ross, and then
One of my college roommates.
Go
ahead.
And then the Bills is Terry Terry Pugula, Pegula.
You got it.
And then so let's go to the AFC North.
You got 20
now.
teams.
What's that?
You've named 20.
You got 3 divisions left. Go ahead.
Okay, AFC North. The Browns are Jimmy Haslam. Well, is Jimmy Haslam. Bengals is Brown. Is Mike Brown.
Always confusing.
The Ravens is Steve Bisciotti. The Steelers is the Rooney family, right? Dan Rooney right now. So now I need the South. And the Titans is Amy Adams Strunk. Is that right?
That's the one I think I
Right.
wouldn't have gotten.
What's that?
I think that's the one I wouldn't have gotten. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, the one. Big
Texans.
flex.
It was Bob McNair. Now I think Cal McNair is the one who runs it. His son.
I hope he's not an inmate. Running an asylum.
The Jags is Shad Khan. And then who am I missing in the South? The Colts, which is Jim Irsay. So now I need to do the West. Chargers, Spanos. Is that how this started?
Yes.
When you mentioned Dean Spanos?
Keep
Yes.
going.
The
We
Raiders,
don't know how
No,
this
stop.
started.
the Raiders is Mark Davis. Who I miss? The Broncos are interesting because Pat Bowlen died. No, that's not interesting that he died. I'm sorry to say.
It's
There's
funny.
his family is there was an outstanding athletic piece last year
Yeah.
about
Nikki.
for control, but I think it's run by Joe Ellis
Correct.
right now.
Wow, that
But,
I never would have gotten.
One more.
And then what team am I missing? I said the Raiders, the Chiefs, which is Clark Hunt.
There you go. What
Is
do we
that
got?
Okay.
I think he's done. I can't even count that fast.
What time did we
Oh,
have?
4:05.
Ooh,
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. I went 126.
I had 2 minutes. All right.
126?
Yeah, so I win. So no, I win.
No, what are you talking about? Oh, 126 seconds or 1
Yeah.
minute 26
No,
seconds?
126 seconds.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
I was like, wow, you were like
Yeah.
expecting him to. That was really impressive, Zach.
That was
I
as
think we
mad
should-
as I've seen Marissa during a podcast when she thought that you wrote 1 minute 26 seconds.
I was like,
and she thought
wow.
it was the worst bet of all. She's like, are you insane?
From DFOB Dan Ruddle, dear God, I realize you have the rest of your life with those kids, but given this performance, I think there's a non-zero chance that you've yet to meet at least one of them.
Come on.
Very well done, Zach. We're all very
My kids are the
impressed.
greatest joy of my life.
We got to find something
Well,
for the
after
challenge, Zach.
What's that?
Yeah, I think we should do something like this every podcast.
Yeah, I'd agree with
Yeah, I mean,
that. It
somebody's
doesn't
like,
have to be sports. It doesn't have to be football related.
If it's
Yes,
music,
someone in the
I-
chat
all of-
said this needs to be a reoccurring segment.
Yeah, it is a
Just
good segment.
Nick Saban's staff.
So I shared with Bo and our editor Pete last week. It's like a self-deprecating thing, but it's real bad. Like to show how out of touch I am with cultural references. Okay, because we were talking about Nnamdi Asomugha.
And Belvedere.
In 2012.
No podcast talks more about Belvedere.
So 2012, Nnamdi Asomugha was wearing a shirt with these 4 people walking across the road. Right? Have I told this on the pod before?
No, you got to tell it.
Okay. And I'm making conversation with him, and I said, "Oh, what's the significance of your shirt?" And he looked at me and he started laughing, and I was not in on the joke, and I'm like, "No, seriously, what does your shirt mean?" And he's like, "It's the Beatles crossing Abbey Road." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Like I didn't realize that was something that I should have known. And then fast forward to the 2018 season, and we are on the bus coming back from Eagles practice. The other writers got out of the bus to cross Abbey Road, and I realized, I was like, that's Nnamdi Asomugha's shirt right there.
There you go.
So
pretty good stuff.
Yeah,
There you go.
All right.
Oh my God.
That'll
These
do
are
it.
getting longer. These should not be getting longer. Okay. We need to start capping these.
I think that's right. That'll do it for this episode of Birds with Friends. If there is no outstanding breaking news this week, I think we'll be back for a quick playoff weekend preview later in the week. And then that's about it. Otherwise, if Doug Peterson decides he wants to go coach the Chargers and Justin Herbert.
Yeah, no
we'll talk about that
outstanding
too.
news. I mean, don't you expect that
I said if.
there's
I said if.
going to be coach? I feel like highly likely that there will be coaching staff changes at the least, right?
That's true. Yeah, we're here. We're on demand.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, thank you for listening, and thank you for tuning in, and thank you to I was going to say the owners, but not thank you to the owners. So that's about all I've got. Thanks to Joe Judge for speaking truth to power. For Zach, Sheil, Marissa, I'm Bo. Thanks for listening, and as always, we love you.